is the Doc from the Stogie Fresh 5 podcast, and you're listening to The Geeks, the Stogie Geeks, with Tim and Paul. Kick back and enjoy as the Geeks kick ass each week. Listen in to the regular episodes as they smoke and chat about their weekly list of stogies. And now, back to the Stogie Geeks.
Hello. Hello. Hey, we're back. Welcome back to the Stogie Geek Show. Want to remind everyone to visit our other sponsor, Mr. J. Havana's Smoke Shop, and of course, Joyles. Visit them both, OceanStateCigars.com for the J. Grotto line of cigars. They got the Grotto series. They got the J. Grotto Reserva. They've got the Silk, which is a Connecticut, fantastic line of smokes. We talked about Honduran Puros. They're not Puros. They do have some Honduran tobacco in them, but they're not exactly Puros. The Reserva Lancero is awesome in that line.
Awesome, yeah. Absolutely.
And the regular J. Grotto line is good, too. I tell you what, if you like the spice on that Aroa kind of reminded me of the spice on the J. Grotto regular series, Robusto. Has a lot of spice in the beginning. If you like that, that's definitely the cigar for you. And I tell you what, every once in a while I do reach for one of those because it is very unique in that way it presents spice, especially in the first third. Very nicely done. You can visit them online at OceanStateCigars.com. Let's see. What else do we want to... I wanted to say, we were talking during the break about really expensive cigars. I kind of just want to throw that out there. What are some of the most expensive cigars that maybe you've seen or maybe that you've bought? And the reason I mention that, I'll go first to give you guys some time to think about that. That the BBMF Maduro, when I went to Casa Fuente in Las Vegas, the BBMF Maduro, and I want to say it had a Forbidden X band on it. It didn't have the regular Opus band on it, but I want to say it's very, very much the same cigar. Was $150.
What?
For the same cigar I'm smoking now, $150. And he says he sells them too at $150. Don't forget now, it's Vegas. Everything is priced like you just won $500 on the slots or whatever, and you want to give some back.
Hey, what was it? P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every day, right?
That's right. Yeah, I have never bought the $150 BBMF, although I have bought $85 maybe for a Forbidden X over there. I've definitely spent $75.
Would you spend $60 on the cigar in a bottle?
The cigars in the bottles were $60 a piece, which seemed like a bargain at the time. And I tell you what, when I smoked one and it smoked friggin' awesome, I was happy with every single penny of that $60.
Didn't you buy 3 of them for yourself? You smoked 2 and brought one home?
I bought some, yes. Yes, I do have one in my humidor. I traded one with you, and I smoked 2 while I was out there. But one someone bought for me.
Okay.
So, yes.
That's my favorite cigar of all time.
We have not yet smoked the Don Carlos Lancero. Will, have you ever had a Don Carlos Lancero?
I have not.
So they had those when I went to Casa Fuente. They were $22 each. I want to say Stogie Santa got one, Mark Jr. and I traded for one, and I may have 2 of my own, one to smoke and one to age. At $22, I was like, yeah, okay, I can buy a few. And
it's a family reserve Padron at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Take care, Steve. I'm going. Yeah. Whatever. Just take them. We'll figure it out. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Logistics. Yes, this Eagle, what is it? Eagle Rare, Eagle Reserve, Rare?
Eagle Rare
Reserve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
All right. So we're talking about very expensive cigars, right?
Yes, very expensive cigars. Go ahead, Mark Jr. I'm
trying to think. I don't think, personally, I've ever shelled out more than like $25 in cash for anything. Now, we traded for one of those cigar in a bottles, right? But that was a trade.
Yep.
But, I think, believe it or not, I think one of the most expensive cigars I ever bought was the Romeo and Juliet Museum Edition. And I had to try it. It was in this like frosted glass tubo, and it had like a lithograph on the inside, and it was very fancy. And I had to try one, right? And it was good. It was a lot better than anything else like Altadis or General has ever put out, in my opinion. But
so Will, do you want to talk about really expensive cigar?
Yeah.
Pick one.
Yeah, I got. So
or two, whatever.
One that I'll mention is one that was recently released. Carries a $30 price point. It's the Davidoff Year of the Snake.
Yeah.
I bought one of them. Too.
I bought one of those too.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that it's a cigar of the year candidate in my book right now. It's the best. It's one of the best Davidoffs I've had. Seth from Seth's Humidor, an online reviewer, sent me the first one to as a gift. I ended up buying a few more. That cigar, all I can say is I'm not a pairings guy, but if I was pairing that with anything, it would be with a hard cider. There's just something about that cigar. It is fantastic.
Mine actually, believe it or not, had some construction issues.
And I've heard of people having them.
Okay, so I wasn't.
You're not the only one, but I have not had them. And neither did Seth's, as far as I know. So
it is really hard with like a $30 cigar to have a construction problem and then be motivated to buy another one, right?
Yeah, and it's something, obviously, when I'm thinking of a cigar of the year, that's got to factor into it because I'm hearing people who I trust say that. But, I mean, I've had no issue. It's fantastic.
I still haven't smoked the one that I bought.
Yeah. Was I have anything else on really expensive cigars? I had a thought, and now it's gone. You mentioned Davidoff Year of the Snake, and now I'm
You want one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
The cigar, there's a cigar called Atabey. This is a cigar that's being distributed, I believe, by Dave Garofalo up at Two Guys. It's made in Costa Rica. These cigars, I mean, they start at probably $25. Not much is known about the tobacco. All I can say is this thing smokes like a Cuban.
Interesting.
It is, and there's some really elaborate packaging that goes with it as well.
And what was that cigar called again, Will?
Atabey, Atabey.
Okay.
It is just a fantastic cigar. They have it up at Two Guys.
Yeah, that's not too far from us, so.
Yeah, it really lives up to its billing. It's a fantastic cigar.
So one of the ones I wanted to mention was the Perdomo de Silvio.
Oh, yeah.
Was recently released. It was retailing for around $32, roughly in that price range, $28 to $32. It comes in a coffin, individual coffin, and when you open the coffin, it kind of has this, attachment to it that like lifts up the cigar out of the coffin, and it's this fairly large De Silvio Salomon size. And it's got a natural wrapper, almost like a Connecticut wrapper. I don't know, it's a Habano probably, but I don't know what the blend is. But it's a very light wrapper, and I bought one. They had the last one at one of the local shops. I bought one because in the locker at that very same shop, I've got the Perdomo de Silvio Robusto. I don't know when those were released a long time ago. Will or Mark, are you familiar with this particular Perdomo?
I'm familiar. I haven't smoked it.
Well, yeah, as well.
I know that Stogie Santa had some of the older ones at the shop, and some people really liked them. I wasn't a huge fan, and there's a couple other people that weren't a huge fan. So what I want to do is on the show, I want to smoke the older one, and I'll smoke the newer one and do kind of a comparison with the blend. Because that is, to kind of tie into the first little talking point we have here, I believe that is a truly limited release, right? I haven't seen the De Silvio anywhere else except when Stogie Santa said, we still have some of these in the back. And then I saw the limited coffin release come out, and it's got a wax seal on it. It's a gorgeous packaging. But I think that's a really, truly limited release. So, Will, why don't you start us off with truly limited releases and your description and examples?
Right. So, out in the market today, you hear limited. But sometimes it's not a truly limited release. It's limited production per year.
Yep.
I was looking at something that is a one-and-done release. So in terms of they've done it, and then it kind of goes into the sunset.
Yep.
And the one that comes to mind, even though this may not technically, I'm going to count this as the Tatuaje Little Boris is one. Even though there was a Boris, that Little Boris, whatever that Sumatra wrapper they're using on that thing, it is absolutely phenomenal. And when they went on sale at Corona Cigars, I'm kicking myself for not buying more. I only bought a 5-pack, and I am regretting it because Pete has said that he's not going to probably make that again because of that wrapper. You know that, right? Yeah.
How is that smoke? Is that good?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It is absolutely.
I missed the boat on that entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of complexity, a lot of sweetness to it. Just one of the best smokes I had last year for sure.
Pete's done that more than most people in terms of that. He had the Barclay Rex, and he had the pork tenderloin, and he had, let's say this. I don't really count the Little Monsters as a re-release, right? All the Monsters have been truly limiteds as well.
Right, that's what I would say. And, to this day, I haven't had a Tatuaje Frank, actually, the original one.
I have one. I'm saving it for Halloween this year.
Yeah,
I gotta smoke it.
Well, let's talk about Pete Johnson, truly limited stuff, right? You've got the pork tenderloin on that list.
Fantastic.
Now, I thought the Nueva Reserva was once in that category, but then they re-released it.
Yep.
And I have to say, it's on par with the original Nueva Reserva.
I just got another one from the original release.
That original release, yeah. The original release is a different blend, I believe.
Oh, is it?
I believe, yeah.
Okay.
And I'd have to fact check that to be sure, but yeah.
So it's interesting. It's almost hard to tell whether they're going to make it again or not. Do the manufacturers? So, Will, you're a little closer to this than we are. Do the manufacturers say that it's we're done? Is that like inside information? Do you have to kind of probe them for that, or what's the deal there?
The answer they typically give you is they've only got this tobacco. When I say it's one and done, they say we only have this tobacco and we can't get this tobacco anymore.
Yep.
So that's typically the official answer. Ezra Zion just came out with the Tantrum, and they're saying that particular year of the wrapper, that vintage of the wrapper, they're not going to be able to get that again. However, they didn't rule out maybe getting another vintage of the wrapper. But so
now, what about the La Aurora Cien Años Maduro?
From what I understand, I don't know if they held some back or not. It sounded like there's still more of those out there.
Mm-hmm.
God, I hope so.
I don't have an official answer on that.
Because that was one you mentioned last week, and
that's an Oasis smoke. That's a phenomenal. I almost lit that one up tonight. Was the other one I was debating.
And that has aging potential, and it's already Oasis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's a problem. Right.
Yeah.
Because how do you stop yourself from smoking them? Right.
Yeah.
I think I may have 6 or 7 of those.
I got 5.
Oof.
But what Dion's done with the Singulares, those have truly been one and done. I mean, he's now on his 4th release, and he's not gone back. He's not looked back at those other ones. So
that's a good one. What is it? The LE 2010 Singulaire?
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Awesome.
Unbelievable.
Awesome
the Phantom.
Yep.
Phantom, yeah. That's awesome.
And, EPC's done a good job with that with their limiteds as well.
Oh, yeah. The
Not
short
going
runs
back.
have truly been short runs, and
The
as well
short
the
runs,
limitadas.
exactly. And, they've done a good job of sticking by that and doing that, which I think, I think there's something to be said for that,
Yeah, what happens is, if you say it's one and done, and then you bring it back, it's kind of a little bit of a disservice to people. Because, a lot of people go through hoops to get that stuff.
Hey, we were talking about the Millennium, right? Like, Padron, we don't know what Padron's going to do for their big anniversary next year. And, I would hate, for instance, if they brought back the Millennium.
Because it's not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same.
And it's going to take another 13 years for it to be like this, even if it is exactly the same.
Right.
In a way, I'm what my father did with El Centurion this year. They didn't bring back the same blend. I don't know if I would have called it El Centurion. It's a different cigar.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
It's not the El Centurion 2007. That's a very different cigar.
Is that a completely different wrapper, right?
It's a different blend entirely.
Different blend.
Because you're just looking at the wrapper. I mean, it's a dark Maduro wrapper, and the ones that just came out, the ones before were a natural wrapper.
Yep.
I'll show you one of the other ones.
Oh, and the one that Mark Jr. has, the original. Is that the first time they came out with it? Was 2007? I think we talked about this in the show.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. The original El Centurion, and that thing smells incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's a special cigar. Like I said, I don't know. Me personally, I would have called it something else.
Yeah.
But,
no, I agree
but that
with
was
you
their
on that as
decision.
well.
They I know it's part of the 10th anniversary of the company, so I kind of get that too.
Absolutely. Are there any other limiteds that are truly limited? That's a really good question. If listeners have suggestions as to
I'd be
what's
curious on
truly
that.
limited, let us know.
I'm sure
Well,
we're missing a
How
lot.
about the Daisy Cutter?
Yeah, the original.
He never called anything Daisy Cutter again. I mean, he came out tons of Skull and Bones after that. But.
Right. Well, he called it the Skull. Did he use Daisy Cutter in the wording at all with his later releases?
No.
No, not that I know.
He just used Skull and Bones. But the original Daisy Cutter was a Skull and Bones Daisy Cutter because it had a Skull and Bones on the band, or no? Did he just call it Daisy Cutter?
You know what's kind of funny? It kind of got called Daisy Cutter after the fact.
Yeah.
But I don't know if for example, some of the subsequent ones, I don't know if it's the same blend or not. So, it's like what Andre did with Friends and Family. Originally, I thought that was a one-time release, and since then he's done another batch and he's done another size. So suddenly, that's not that one-and-done limited that I thought it originally
was. He is the most notorious at bringing them back. And not bringing them back to their original glory, right? Like, he is notorious for that.
I agree.
Yep.
All right, cigars of the past. Take us through that, Will.
So I kind of was thinking about this. There's so much coming out in the market right now, but there's cigars that about 3 or 4 years ago I would go and smoke every day, or they were just regular rotation smokes, and suddenly I just find myself not smoking anymore. And it's not that they've been discontinued; they're just kind of getting overshadowed by new releases. So, I kind of put a couple of examples of the CAO Brazilia GOLs, were ones I always used to smoke. They're still around. The Gurkha Shaggy Maduros were ones that I always smoked, and there's nothing wrong with those cigars. It's just they kind of get forgotten about with everything going on right now.
La Riqueza's in that category for me,
Yep.
too. I used to destroy those things, man. I loved them.
I get kind of a strange one. You guys can probably be shocked, but Stogie Santa one time actually gave me an aged, very well aged Romeo and Julieta vintage. In it, I don't know, I forget the number, but it was a Bellicoso. It actually was a very similar size to your Partagas Series P number 2, but it was a Romeo and Julieta vintage. It might have even been a number 2. Very mild cigar, but I tell you what, it was extremely enjoyable with age, coffee in the morning kind of thing. And I don't hear anyone talking about you know what I mean? It's kind of it's one of those regular releases that just kind of fly under the radar.
I'm trying to think. There's got to be other ones for me, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be. This wasn't I was gonna say the Siglo, but that was limited. The Altada Siglos were actually pretty good.
I feel like there's some cigars that are out there now that are going to fall into that same category.
The Lithuanians, I think, are destined for obscurity.
Yeah, no one
as good as they are.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed them. I just don't see that hanging on, dude. To be honest with you, I don't see a lot of those ones from last year hanging on, like the CYBs and the.
Yeah,
I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Hoya de Nicaragua, the Antonio 1970.
Yes, that's another.
Yeah, that's been around a long time. I mean, they just announced a line extension to that this year, so maybe it's going to get a little more buzz. But that's just a cigar. That's a staple cigar of mine that used to be.
Do you think a lot of the Davidoffs are going to fall in that category? And they've done some interesting things with their lines. They're phasing out some of the Lancero and Lonsdale sizes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could say a lot of white label is, or I'm not going to count Millennium, but just core white label already. I don't know how many people reach for that who are hardcore cigar people. I think maybe someone who wants to have a Davidoff, they'll tend to go for that one.
I don't know why you would with all the other stuff that's out there, but yeah, I guess there's people out there that really like them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Fonseca's Cubano Limitado, that's about 4 or 5 years old. That's another one. I remember when it came out, it was a really bolder Fonseca, and I enjoyed it.
It's interesting you say that, Will. One of the guy at Havana Cigar Club, Todd, that is his favorite smoke, is the Fonseca Cubana Limitado Bellicoso.
That's really funny too.
Yeah, keeps a box in his humidor. Smokes, one every other day at least. And he's doing a fair amount of sampling too, but he goes back, and that's a staple.
The owner of Outland Cigar is a shop I frequent in Charlotte. That's his too. It's very interesting. He said that.
Oh, that's an interesting coincidence.
Yeah. So I mean,
I wonder what we would think of that cigar. Now, you smoked one, but it was a while ago.
It's been a while ago. I mean, it's a good for Fonseca. It's one of my favorites. It's a bolder Fonseca. But it's I probably haven't reached for it in 2 or 3 years right now. It's just kind of gotten with everything else coming out. It's kind of one that's been put by the wayside. It was a good cigar.
Do you think there's something in the blend that makes it phase out, or you think it's just people's attention, or is it what is it that makes it phase out?
Well, they're still making them, so they're not discontinuing them. So I don't think it's anything. I think it's just this industry has become what's new, and a lot of retailers are critical of that. I think it's added a dynamic to the industry that has really been special. I mean, it's why we can be on here and talk every week, or why I can write because of that what's new. And it gives people a reason to go into the humidor and get something. So I think it's a good thing, but that's one of the byproducts is a lot of good stuff that's been released is now it's going to sit on the shelves right now.
One of the ones, La Gloria Cubana, makes a Charlemagne and a Charlemagne Maduro. Those were good. I had a couple ones with some age on them.
Well, then there's that those too, right? And then there's the cigars that changed hands or changed.
Yes.
They changed the blend, right? And we've talked about some of these ad nauseum, right? Like the Gloria Cubana is one of them. Yep. Rocky Patel reblended a lot of his blends from back in the day. That used to be fantastic. Specifically, that Old World Reserve Maduro was ridiculous. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
If someone told me that they had a 5-year-old box of those things, I would buy it that, dude.
Now, when I got
even older than that,
when I got really into smoking all kinds of different cigars, right? I would go to this website puff.com. You guys familiar with puff.com?
Yep.
And they used to have this ranking system on there. And one of the top budget smokes on there was this El Rey del Mundo. Might have been the Choice Supreme, but not the Cuban version, obviously, the non-Cuban version. And I don't think I could find a retailer even then that carried it locally.
I have some of those Robusto Largas.
Yeah,
they're stupid old. They're wrapped in white paper.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to come wrapped in white paper. I think I want to say Joyles at the time had a box of El Rey del Mundo because I kept asking for it, and they sold me one. Robusto Supreme, that's what it was called. It's a Honduran. It's from Honduras, and it wasn't that great. And I was like, oh, now I know what they're talking about. I was animate that they sell me one. They were even reluctant to say, they're you're not going to like this. And I'm like, no, I want one anyway. And I tried it. I was like, well, yep, you're right.
There was a cigar that came out a few years ago that I liked called El Baton, the J.C. Newman cigar. It came out in 2009, and I was smoking a lot of them in 2009. Kind of with Brickhouse and other things getting released, kind of just fell off the radar. Then it got the rating this year in the top 25 with Cigar Aficionado, and it kind of got a little life again.
Yeah, well, I think price point plays a huge factor because, I don't know, you guys correct me if you think I'm way off on this, but I think several years ago, you had your regular production cigars, and you could get a lot of these cigars for a reasonable price. And the boutique cigar manufacturers several years ago, I think their price points were pretty high. And I think we've seen a shift, right, where boutique manufacturers now are coming out with cigars that are at the same price point or even less than the big Altadis and General cigars. So the competition is fierce now. Yeah. And I think the example that comes back for me, and obviously, I do the show, and you guys smoke a lot of cigars like I do, and we're enthusiasts. I look at E.P. Carrillo. His Cardinal cigar, which you can get for $5 or $6. It's a regular production cigar. It is fantastic. It is fantastic. It is light years ahead of a lot of those other regular production cigars that may have been popular several years ago. So do you think that's why maybe now we're seeing more cigars drop off like that?
Yeah.
A lot of it's price point.
Yep. I think that's a lot.
And now it's all going to be to see who sticks around now, right?
Yeah. Who can have the longevity? Personally, I think EPC is going to have. I think he's well established.
Yeah.
He's a little different. I mean, he
stands out as someone that broke off on his own and is really doing.
But I'll tell you,
things.
but he had already created greatness beforehand. Like
yes.
those Gloria Cubanas beforehand were fantastic. You know, so the guy has a proven track record of being a great cigar.
Yep.
Maker. Yep, and probably EPC and Tatuaje have done the best job, I think, at balancing core lines with limiteds.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, they give you a little of both, which is good for a cigar enthusiast.
Yes.
But now take someone like Oliva. I think they've done a great job of balancing a really good core line that I think is more accessible to the masses because of quality and price point, and also making limiteds that are appealing to the true enthusiast, right? You look at the Milano and some of the other stuff Oliva's done. Even Master Blends, to a certain extent, has had some good releases, too. Maybe not their most recent one, but I think they've done a good job of balancing that.
Yeah.
Yep. And they give you, every year they come out with, the V Maduro. So, I mean, it's something every year to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep.
That's interesting. Some of the ones on this puff.com, top 25 cigars under $6. Their top one on there is a Sabor Cubano. I smoked that, actually, and it was okay. It was a La Tradicion Cubana. I smoked one of those, and I did not like it. It was a chiseled version. It was actually the only other chisel I'd ever seen outside of LFD. That was not great flavor profile at all. An Excalibur by Hoya de Monterrey.
Solid cigar.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I had a vintage Excalibur, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So, yeah, that's a very interesting point, Will. What was next up on your list of topics, Will?
Best cigar, and I meant best cigar line that no one pays attention to. So, there's a lot of boutiques out there that get attention, but I think there's some boutiques that still are really unknown boutiques to people. Some of the ones, and some of this could be because of limited production, but, some of them that came to mind were examples of Elogio. When people smoke Elogio, once they get it in their hand, they love it. 724 is another one where, once people have tried it, it's really good. Now that Debonair that Stogie Santa recommended, I think that would be in that category. Nomad, which I talked about earlier.
I think a lot of the Roma craft falls into that, too. I know that amongst us, we talk about it a lot, but I don't know of any retailers up here that have them at all. None.
There's a couple there's two in North Carolina I know that have them.
Yeah, so that's two in a big state like North Carolina. I mean, that's not getting a ton of exposure at that point.
Yeah. But they're definitely getting buzz there's a very loyal contingent of people when they smoke those. They're very loyal, fiercely loyal to that brand.
So I reviewed one a couple of weeks ago that falls in that category, I think, Will, and that's Falto Cigars. Did you get any of those samples at IPCPR?
No.
This is by La Garita Cigar Company, and it's got a very distinct blue color on the band. I had the Lonsdale, I believe, or maybe something different. It's in the show notes. They've got some really great cigars. I'll tell you what, I had one that I really liked it, and one of the shops that we frequent, Havana Cigar Club, is working on bringing those in, and that was kind of his pick from the show. And I smoked one, and I tell you what, it was really good. And I think it's one of those ones that are right now probably falling under the radar. So I hope to review more of them as they come in. So I don't know. What are some other boutique ones that we may have smoked and aren't getting the press? I think Elogio is probably the best example of that.
Yeah, I think so too.
I tell you what, I really want more of those Elogio Salamones.
I still have mine. I still haven't smoked it.
Oh, I gotta get more.
That's
of those.
great. That's a great cigar.
Yeah, one of my favorite sizes too.
Yep, they announced the Robusto in that blend as well. Robusto.
Oh, another one I think that I think we've turned a lot of people on to this particular blend is Paul Gamarian.
Yeah, and they've been around for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And I tell you what, they've just got some fantastic blends.
Sure.
Now, was he at the show? Did he release any new cigars?
He was at the show. He did release something, and I don't remember what it is.
Gotcha.
It might have been a line extension, but I did see him at the show.
Okay.
Have you guys smoked Lou Rodriguez?
Mm-mm.
No, I have 2 Lanceros of his sitting in my humidor at home, though.
He's a guy to watch. He's based in North Carolina, so that's how I know of him. He's vertically integrated, so he's got his own farms, he's got his own factory, he handles his own distribution. He does mostly Nicaraguan-based blends, and he's done a couple of limited releases as well. His price point on most of the stuff's a little higher, but again, people when those cigars have gotten in people's hands, they just loved it. I could get you guys some of those. I'd probably send you guys some to try. I will do that. I'm curious to get your thoughts, but they're good cigars. Definitely worth checking out.
Fair enough.
Lou Rodriguez. Excellent.
Yep.
How are you guys cigars doing? How they finished?
Oh, they're wonderful.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, mine
Epic smoke.
Absolutely. We should just do epic smokes every show.
From now on.
We made it easy.
Excellent. Someone is mentioning, I believe it's Patrick in the chat, is Casa Fernandez. He's a huge fan of Casa Fernandez. And in fact, I want to say I picked up a Casa Fernandez Arsenio, and I don't remember if I smoked it or not. I'll have to check up on that. That was one that I remember that one of our listeners recommended. Casa Fernandez. That's good stuff.
Yep. Maduro. I like the Maduro.
Maduro, yeah. I think that's Arsenio is Maduro.
Yep.
Yeah. He said it's very good. And that's one that has definitely flown under the radar. Well, at least our radar. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to this edition of the Stogie Geeks. If all goes well, we should be back next week. And I want to remind everyone that we do have a website, www.stogiegeeks.com. You can find cigar reviews, all the stogies that we've talked about on the show, as well as all the audio and video for each and every episode. I want to remind everyone that October 25th will be our big episode that we're doing in support of Wounded Warriors. Maybe not the Wounded Warrior project, but Wounded Warriors in general. We're going to pick some fabulous charities to donate to. We're still working on picking charities out. At this point, we're probably going to end up with multiple. I know some of the listeners of my other podcasts that are, in fact, veterans who have served our great country have recommended their charities. So what I may do, you heard it here first, is bring on some listeners who are veterans and have them recommend their favorite charity and, kind of go through a bunch of different charities and make that based on our listeners, which I think would be really cool. So
that'd be great.
Thanks, everyone, again for listening, and we'll see everyone on the next episode of the Stogie Geek Show.